Good morning, natural gas. It's Friday, June the 5th, 2026. I'm Tim Beggans, president of ELK Trading Company. And today is a risk-off day across commodities and equities. July natural gas is now off right here. We're trading 327.10, down 6.5 cents or almost 2%. And as you can see, we are still above the 13 and 48 period exponential moving averages, but we're giving up much of yesterday's gain, and the RSI is trying to turn lower. Let's take a look at what's going on in the hourly chart. As you can see, we could not push up to first resistance here, which came in at 3404. We are now below the daily pivot, which came in today at 3308, and we are now pushing toward our first support level, which comes in at 323.90. The RSI is bottoming out here. So we've got a little bit of profit taking ahead of the weekend. Looks like we'll stabilize here at first support, possibly waffle higher, a little bit closer toward the pivot, 3308 later in the session. Let's take a look at storage. Storage came in at plus 95 BCF. Now, we did have a few estimates in that 95, 96, but consensus was 101. And that went up against last year's 119, the 5-year average, 101. So this was bullish versus last year, bullish versus the 5-year average. Let's take a look at the front to back spreads here. This is Jan versus October here. And as you can see, we're currently trading at 119 and 7 ticks. And we're currently up just 8 ticks on the day. The RSI is trying to turn up, but it is still in the sell mode. So it looks like we're going to be congesting around this 125, chopping around the 125. How about that? And we're going to just see how the weather patterns are going to continue. Are we going to continue to get heat? The forecasts keep trying to push cooler air back in late in the period toward the south, especially Texas. So we're not getting that sustained heat we need to get a trend. How about the winter strip? Well, there has been some bargain hunting here above this 384.10 level here. As you can see, this is the moving average convergence divergence, or MACD. This is turning up, but as you can see, the bars are pretty thin and low, which means we're indifferent. We don't know which way we want to go. So got a little bit of bargain hunting here. We've got a little bit of short covering here. But in general, it looks like people are worried that we won't have enough molecules in winter globally because the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. How about ERCOT? Well, we've got about 26,000 of renewables in the grid today. Low wind, which is helpful for natural gas, but we've got a lot of rain, especially here in the Houston area, and our load is below 69,000 megawatts. And as you can see here, natural gas is taking 52% of the fuel mix right now because of that low wind. And here is the heat risk map. And we'll show this is starting to look more and more like summer because we start getting moderate heat risk, major heat risk, and then extreme heat risk. So let's go through the forecast here. This is the major heat risk showing up here in the Dakotas, Nebraska, parts of Wyoming. And then that continues over into North Carolina and Virginia. And then as you continue into Monday, we start seeing some very much warmer temperatures in the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas, parts of Florida and North Carolina. And then this really starts to expand. And as you can see from the bottom here, we start seeing some major heat risk here for 11.5 million people on Tuesday. Some extreme temperatures start coming in here, and that expands. We start seeing 191,000 people under extreme heat risk, and then that pushes out to 3 million because St. Louis is being included in that extreme heat risk. So here comes a taste of summer. And let's take a look at that anomaly map here because we want to see where the warmer temperatures are. They tend to start out in the Pacific Northwest, and that pushes up into the upper Midwest, keeping the South relatively normal to actually cooler than normal at periods. And this is going to continue all the way through the forecast. As you can see, some of the above normal temperatures, upper Midwest, Ohio Valley pushes over into the Mid-Atlantic and New England. This continues all the way through. This is June 16th. Again, the heat is focused in on the west. Then it starts to push into Texas before some cooler air comes in, knocks some of that back out before we get even more warmer temperatures coming through the forecast period. So again, toward the end here, as you can see, it is going to be fairly warm in the upper Midwest. Let's take a look at LNG, and we're keeping an eye on, yes, this vessel up here. This is in the Eastern Siberian Sea. This is the Russian vessel that's trying to make the Northern Passage early. Yes, there's still a lot of sea ice, and this looks like this is an icebreaker clearing the path for this LNG tanker. Why? Because there's still a lot of ice in this space right here, all the way into the Bering Straits, and they've got to get it down through the Bering Straits to push it into China. Why is this important? Because the EU is going to ban Russian LNG starting in 2027. And here's some news for Sempra. This is Coastal Azul, just south of San Diego, California, and it's kicking off its LNG production. It's a small facility right now, but this is good news as Mexico is ramping up LNG. And the gas is sourced from the United States, by the way. This is Cameron LNG, and it's up to almost 1.5 out of 1.56 BCF of capacity, so it's running near full optimization. And here is Creole Trail. Again, this is one of the pipelines that feeds Sabine Pass LNG, and this is running 1.53 out of 1.7 BCF of capacity. Corpus Christi still having some compressor work done at Sinton Compressor Station, so it is going to be doing that work through the 9th, and as you can see, we have almost a BCF of open capacity. How about, this is Venture Global's Calcasieu Pass, and again, there is still some capacity here, almost 655,000 open capacity, but over at Plaquemines, we're running over nameplate capacity, 4 BCF out of 3.94. And we found some news on Freeport LNG because it also is doing some maintenance. And as you can see right now, it is currently scheduled for less than a BCF out of 1.714 capacity at the moment. Normally, true capacity is 2.622 BCF. And here is Golden Pass. Supposedly, this is planned maintenance after the first export cargoes, and we're only pulling in 5,000 MMBTUs out of 2.6 BCF. So this is quite low right now, but according to the news, this is planned maintenance. How about Europe? Well, it's warm right now, and then it starts to cool off a little bit as we go through the forecast period. And then we start seeing some warmer temperatures showing back up here, the 16th, 17th, all the way into the 18th. As you can start to see, it starts to look like a summer pattern where some very warm temperatures across the southern tier from the Iberian Peninsula all the way back into Greece and Turkey. And storage, well, it's over 41% full across the EU, but that's 25% below the 5-year average. So they've got a long way to go just to get to possibly 80%. That's going to be a really hard target to reach across the EU. Some countries better than others, but overall, we're still only halfway there. And let's take a look at Asia. As you can see, it's getting very warm. We've got some extreme heat risk warnings today in Hong Kong. We also are seeing 80s and upper 80s in Shanghai. And then we start to see some 90-degree temperatures here in Beijing, the capital city, all the way up here. And this is Shanghai, and this is Hong Kong. So eastern provinces, Korea's, parts of Japan, starting to look warm. Again, with an El Nino year, this could turn out to be even a warmer summer than 2023 for Japan. And here is the U.S. nuclear fleet doing very, very well. Today, only 3.4 gigawatts are offline right now. We've got one up in Connecticut, Millstone, and we've got Surrey in Virginia that have more than 50% outage. Everybody else is pretty much almost up and running. So good news for the U.S. nuclear fleet. How about the tropics? Well, we've got a little bit of tropical risk here. This is under 20% on the west coast of Mexico. Nothing in the June 17th through the 23rd period at this time. Why not? Well, we just don't have any real storm formations off of Panama, off the Yucatan, or into the Gulf of America / Mexico. And here's another reason why. Yep, that's the Sahara air layer. I keep harping on it, but this is what inhibited Atlantic hurricane season last year, and this looks like there's more of this Saharan dust this year. So we're seeing big plumes coming off on a regular basis. How about stocks? These are stocks in the oil and gas E&P sector between $2 and $10 billion, have a high short float over 10%. This is the 1 week performance. And as you can see, we've only got basically 3 stocks that are in the positive right now. The other 3 are in the negative. Why? Gas and crude oil prices are now off. And let's recap again for the spot July contract. We're currently trading at 328.20, down 5.4 cents or 1.62%. We'll expect that things hold here above the first support and then possibly waffle higher back toward our daily pivot, which is at 3302. So let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.